Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about why this December will be very cold and very snowy 2019. So we're looking at the weather models and there are already some very cold signatures, and we're looking at a potential Arctic outbreak early next week, followed by a snowstorm followed by Arctic outbreak. So just stay with me. I'll explain why this is all gonna occur. Consider liking this video, consider subscribing to this channel. It really means a lot to me, and I really love making these videos for you, so really consider clicking that red subscribe button. If you're subscribed, it's going to be white and it's going to say subscribe, so thank you for that. Also, I have one more thing to say. Consider supporting my channel on Patreon. So last year I got demonetized in the month of March. Maybe you may be wondering, why did I get demonetized? I must have done something bad. It was literally for no reason. It was also many other YouTubers got demonetized at that time period, for absolutely no reason. And most of those got their accounts back because they had the power to say, go online and be like, okay, this is BS, give me back my channel. But of course I was small and still am small, so this might happen again. So consider supporting me on Patreon. It's, if you don't know what that is, it's basically if you want to, you could donate $1 or $2 per month to my channel, and that keeps this channel going. Not really dependent on YouTube, so thank you for that. So first off, let's look at the climate predictions under 6 to 10 day outlook. Notice that this, I actually cut the days off on accident, but this would be from, I think, around the I actually have no idea, but let's see, 6 to 10, so probably around the 7th through the 12th time frame. And notice that there's some below average conditions across a good portion of the northern country, and the confidence is pretty high. You can see it's 70% chance or higher of it being below average. And then notice the west coast is pretty warm, and then the southeast coast and the northeast have a little bit of confidence in being warmer. And again, this is only for a 5 to 6 day period, really 6 to 10 day if you're counting the 6, so 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, around 5 days. So that is that. Notice that the precipitation for the 6 to 10 day outlook, which now we could see is from the 9th through the 13th, so I was a little bit off. But we noticed that it is above average across a good portion of the country where it is below average. So what does that mean? That probably means, an increased snow ratio, increased snow chances, possibly some snowstorms as there's quite a bit of moisture hanging around, and that's what the models are showing. They're showing quite a bit of snowstorm possibility. Now that's only from the 9th through the 13th. Up to the 9th, we're going to be looking at relatively average conditions. It's not going to be too warm, it's not going to be cold either. It's going to be rather average. So this is really this time period, including the 8 to 14 day outlook, which I'll show you in just a minute, will really put this whole month into its negatives. And notice the 8 to 14 day outlook also below average. The lighter blues mean they have less confidence in being below average. But notice that it's across a pretty good real estate. I would say 2/3 of the country, maybe a little bit less. Then parts of the west and southwest are warm as again. And there's parts of the southeast, but it moves away from the northeast and some chilly air comes in. Look at this. This is from the 11th through the 17th. So this is definitely quite a big time period. This is 10 days. So you can see below average for a good portion of the country. This again is overlapped with above average precipitation for the majority of the country. What does that mean? Well, that means that if it's warm in the south, which they're showing some warmth in the south, and it's above average, that means some storms could spawn. They could tap into that cold air and really produce abundant snowfall across the north. Or if there's an Alberta Clipper or a Saskatchewan Screamer or a Manitoba Mauler, we have sorry, that's Saskatchewan, that's Manitoba, that's Alberta. And if we have that, you could see that there would be these clippers possibly coming through and then picking up moisture and strengthening into even bigger systems across these locations, or even just big storms across the west that came from the Pacific coming into the US, and kind of what we had with the Winter Storm Ezekiel. That was a classic example, and the storm before that one, which I think was Dorothy, that's what it was. So if we look now at, I want to show you the weather models. So let's look at the weather models. What I just showed you was this climate prediction center, and now let's look at the raw data. So let's look at tropical tidbits. Let's load the forecast models, and let's take a look at this. So right now we're looking at some chilly conditions across the northeast, but really the rest of the country is above average. However, then we get a little bit of warmth into the northeast, followed by a resurgence over the weekend of some chilly air across the northeast, a little bit warmer across the west, but that allows for a storm to come right in. I mean, this storm just comes right through and really it takes advantage of all the moisture and warm air that is allowing this moisture to be at such abundant levels, and it creates a snowstorm, which we will see start evolving across this time frame. And notice that the low pressure right here across the west, additionally, it just has a lot of precip around it. It allows a lot of precip with it. Right now, it's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, so once it hits land, we will really get to the details of it. But the models are in pretty good agreeing as of now, or at least the GFS ensembles are. You're going to notice that it has a good swath of snow across the northern U.S. There's quite a bit of precip out ahead of it. You can see it start drawing it up from the Gulf of Mexico. And again, this low just sits in that perfect position for another big storm. Notice that some heavy rain across the south would definitely be occurring, some severe weather. Good area of rain to the northeast. Doesn't seem like a snowmaker for the northeast this time. Seems more of a Midwest, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, Missouri type storm. You can see this storm would be have a really cold air behind it, really heavy snowfall rates, and really strong winds, and that thing just blows off completely into a pretty big storm off of southeast Canada, or into southeastern Canada. Then we see again very cold air followed behind this. We see these millibars very packed. We see some snow showers coming in again. Look at that. The Alberta Clipper takes opportunity of the precip. Comes from a moisture-starved system. Picks up moisture. The models aren't doing much with this one, but it could definitely intensify into its northeasterly system. Introduce a little bit of warm air, but that comes at a price as another system comes through, and we could just be looking at a very active pattern overall. So let's look at some of these snowfall totals from that storm, just out of curiosity. Let's see what they're showing. You can see they're showing some pretty nice amounts. Generally 4 to 6 inches across the Midwest, Ohio, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and even parts of the Northeast. So that's interesting to note of. Let's look at the ensembles, which is more averaged out, several models per perspective of what's the cold or what the temperatures are going to be like. Let's look at the 2 meter 5-day temperature anomalies, and let's see what they're doing with it. So notice that as of now, it's a little bit warmer across the south, the southeast, or southeast, southwest, and it's cold across the northern and northeastern United States. However, then quickly notice Tuesday, Wednesday, the coldest getting closer, and then it just bombs out and really affects much of the Midwest and Northeast, and it continues through the basically December 20th time frame in this case, and the Southwest is only real warm location, which again, kind of what I predicted this winter would be the pattern, a more reoccurring pattern than not, with the warm across the West and the Southwest, and a little bit of cold for the Northwest, and then mainly the cold for the Midwest, the South, and parts of the Northeast as well. And along with that, there will be some, again, big storms, big snowstorms. That's a good 7-day precip anomaly. You'll notice that obviously with the cold, there's going to be a little bit of more drier conditions, but when we have such cold conditions, you put a little bit precip in that cold air, and you could get quite a bit of snow out of that, as that's when the snow would be really fluffy and the snowfall ratios would be high. So let's look at this 160 and 192. You're going to notice it's gets pretty above average across these locations Sunday, and then that basically is to do with that big storm that we're expecting early next week, and then it stays dry across the west, even though there could be a big storm coming in. So these GFS ensembles, are a bit lost, it seems. But so this is for, well, yeah, because this starts Wednesday, December 11th. So this actually, sorry about that. That was my misperspective. This actually starts December 11th. So this starts next Wednesday. I thought for some reason it was referring to this Wednesday. But it's Wednesday, December 11th. You can see they're showing above average conditions across the south and east, where it would be colder if you were to look at the anomalies. Or a little bit warmer, but then the cold air would be just to the north of it, so that would produce possibly a snowstorm up here as well. Notice that little curve right there, and that would kind of be indicative of a storm system right there. So that's interesting to note. Of the European model, very similar. It has very cold air coming in. This is at a certain height, but they basically relate just down to the surface as well. Not agreeing completely with the GFS on the fact of that snowstorm, but it's definitely agreeing with the cold air. You could see several shots from the northeast, a little bit warmer across the Midwest, but then all hell breaks loose and we just see cold after cold and more cold up here in Canada. And if you recall, I was talking about a couple days ago whether or what these models were doing. They were sending mixed signals. It was overall a mess. Well, now it's becoming more clear that it seems December will be rather chilly and on the snowier side rather than the very warm side, which I was afraid that that's what might turn out like. But notice again, just the European showing very, very cold air for the eastern U.S. around the Wednesday, December 11th time frame. A little bit of break, still relatively chilly in the southeast, where probably a storm or two would pass through, and then we could see more cold air end up soaring to the north. And if we were to look at the North American continent, we could get a broader view of this. So why not? Let's do that, and notice that this would be stored up and ready to attack again right at that time frame would start to intensify, and that would probably bring in a little bit more chill as well. I want to go back to that first. You could see that first initial air mass that's going to be very cold starts off at the very same position, and that also affects those locations, and then this one will do the very same thing. So that takes us at least through basically prior couple of days before Christmas, and that could leave quite a bit of white snow, white Christmas, a lot of people may see white Christmases this year, so that'll be pleasant. Notice that the Canadian model also has a very similar thing as a GFS and a European, just some really drastic ridges, some bits of warming up in between. The GFS definitely has the coldest scenario, but you could see they definitely, the other two models definitely introduce the cold at the same time as a GFS does. Maybe just moves the cold out a little bit quicker, but notice this extends all the way down into the south. And as soon as that one leaves, or as soon as it seems it's leaving, we have another one coming in. So that's just the reoccurring pattern we might be seeing. So that's something important to note of. So I thank you guys so much for watching. Consider liking the video, consider subscribing to this channel. I'll catch you guys in the next episode. See ya, bye.